Motherless Brooklyn is about a private eye who has Tourette syndrome and obsessive compulsive disorder. And he goes to figure out the murder of his mentor and only friend, and gets taken deep into a web of crime and corruption that sort of shaped New York City in the mid-50s.
Perfect, you got that down.
Wow.
Remember Robert Evans, the great
Yes.
producer?
Yeah.
He said once, if you can tell me your movie in 3 lines, it's a hit. If you can tell me in 1, it's a blockbuster. I thought there was very timeless themes and questions in it, themes of empathy and the idea of, people's impulse to either care for each other or amass power and money and things like that. And I thought that was very timeless, and I thought that the character that I play, Lionel, he's a very compelling character, kind of, not to be glib, but in the vein of, Forrest Gump or Rain Man, or he's an underdog, a very unique underdog, and because you pull for him, he pulls you through a complicated story, which I love.
For the two of you, can you tell me sort of one of Edward's strengths as a director that you really appreciated while you were on set and make him feel a little awkward while he's sitting?
Well, it's also the fact that he's an actor. He really understands from the inside what you're dealing with, what your concerns are. As you can see, he's incredibly articulate, but he's incredibly good at expressing, exactly what he wants. And I think, having that language capacity to be able to tell you in very few words, or just that energy of he knows the material so intimately, so well prepared. And, I think then you really do just trust that you're in great hands as an actor, because, you speak the same language creatively.
We were flying by the seats of our pants a lot, but in the best way, because everything was set up, but the actual realization always had a little heat turned up on it. And particularly, if you see the movie, particularly for our scenes, that was very important, because there's always a time restraint, there's a panic, there's
an urgency.
An urgency. So for me, it was great. And also the fact that there's something beautiful about right before a take, he can pull you aside and say, hey, that line, and toss it, or, making quick adjustments, not in character, but, there's a line that's blurred. The director isn't out there, he's with you in the ring, That's exciting. It makes it much more fluid and immediate.
Every time you're on the knife's edge of going, are we going to pull this off? You can feel almost fraudulent. Like, you can feel like we're winging it, and you have to remember that not to shy away from that, but to kind of lean into it, let it feed into the energy of what you're doing, and become part of the tissue of the story. But it's incredible how you never totally get used to that. Like, I mean, you never take that for granted. I think you can.
Well, in fact, you get used to being in that place where you're a little scared and you're a little uncertain, but that's a place, ironically, of comfort, and you can operate from that. And rather than pushing it away, you say, bring it on.
Yeah.
And that usually puts you to a place that you can never anticipate going. You can't control that. And I always feel like performing is always a nice, contrast of control and letting go. And in this kind of situation, you're walking that line. And it usually, for me, in my experience, that it usually has more good result when you find that sweet spot between those two poles.